Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We will now begin our program. I had committed to a start of 9:05. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the ERS, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this virtual engagement, Unpacking the ERS Invoicing System. I'd like to just thank the representatives of the wholesale and retail industry who've made the time to join us this morning. We just want to thank you for your participation. My name is Ndobeko Manana. I am from the communications and marketing team. I am seeing that Alfred Pagati, you cannot hear me. Can I just confirm, particularly with the internal team, can you hear me, colleagues, before I proceed?
We can hear you, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I was just doing introductions. My name is Ndobeko Manana from the marketing and comms team, and I will be the program director for today's session. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our second engagement with the wholesale and retail sector, following the initial session that we held in June. During that session, I'm sure quite a few of you are also participating from that session, received quite a number of questions, comments, and requests for clarification. We will be sharing a report that speaks to that. Our technical teams picked up all of the questions from the session, from Slido, and in the chat, we will be dropping that report that responds to the questions from that session. But today's conversation looks to take the conversation we had in June a little bit further. We will still provide an overview of the fiscalization or ecosystem, unpack the relevant legal notice, and then explain the accreditation, enrollment, and support processes. So those that didn't attend June's session will still benefit from today. We'll still cover quite a bit of what we covered in June, but just go into a bit more detail. But before we kick off our program, just a few housekeeping rules. Please do keep your mics muted. Currently have about 176 people in the call, so please do keep your mics muted unless you've been invited to speak. This will just help that we're able to maintain quality sound throughout the session. We will have Q&A after each presentation. But however, if there are any questions that you'd like to drop in the chat while the presentation is ongoing, please do so. We also have our teams on standby to be able to respond to the questions on the chat, but during the Q&A, I'll also try to pick up some questions that have been dropped in the chat. But with those arrangements just covered, we'll jump straight into our program. To just officially welcome us and just provide context of this important engagement, I'd like to invite the Head of Domestic Revenue, Mrs. Pearl Dlamini, who's going to outline, sort of set the scene for today's discussions. Pearl, can I hand over to you just to welcome everyone and just a high-level overview of what our audience can expect for today. Over to you, Pearl. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ndobeko. Can you confirm on your side, Ndobeko, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you so much, Program Director. Good morning, our valued clients. Good morning, ERS colleagues present here today. It is my privilege to welcome you all in this engagement. To you, our valued clients, you are the engine of our economy. The shelves that you stock, the invoices that you issue, and the customers that you serve touch the lives of every Eswatini and every single day. That's why we are here today, and that's why we are talking fiscalization. Some of you, they can ask why fiscalization and why now? To be honest, the ERS is not here to police you. We are just here to protect you. We are here to protect the owner's business, to protect the consumer, to protect our nation's future as ERS. For too long, compliant customers or clients have carried the weight of the non-compliant ones, and this ends with fiscalization. What fiscalization means, if I may be direct, it means credibility, it means efficiency, it means growth. We are digitizing the process so that you, our clients, can focus on what you do best. Leleni kwatiko, selling, growing, and doing your business, while ERS focuses on what they're good at, which is the tax part. This is a partnership. And we are saying today, ERS cannot do this alone. We cannot do this without you. And you cannot, we cannot build lasting businesses as well without a fair and stable system. Today, we are not just bringing you the requirements as the ERS, as these requirements will be shared during the engagement today, but we are also here to just listen. We are also here to just listen to you, and we are also bringing you commitment to support you, commitment to listen. Siyafuna kunlalela as the ERS, we want to listen to you. Commitment to fairness. The choice before us is simple, and the choice is that we can continue with the systems of the past, or we can build a system that's fit for the future together with our clients, a system where the honest will win. So in conclusion, as I welcome you to every retailer and wholesaler present here today, you are not just taxpayers, you are the nation builders. Let us lock arms today together. Let us embrace fiscalization, not as a burden, but as the foundation for a stronger future. May I honestly request you to engage honestly, and please open up. Please share your thoughts with us. Please share your challenges with us. We are here to hear you today. Today is really about you, our valued clients, and we are honestly wishing that this engagement will really yield the best future for all of us. So may I officially open this engagement and declare this meeting open, Dobeko. Thank you, and may God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Pearl. Thank you, HDR, for those remarks, and also just highlighting the importance of collaboration throughout this process. Colleagues, before we jump into the detailed presentations, we have a short video that we'd like to play that just provides a broad introduction to fiscalization and the e-invoicing platform that we're looking to roll out. So as you watch, please also take any notes and make any comments that you may have and drop them in the chat. As I highlighted, we have our teams ready to respond. But before we jump into the official presentations, we'll start off with this video.
TaxCore is a revolutionary solution that helps tax authorities all over the world fight the grey economy and sales tax fraud in the most flexible and convenient way. With TaxCore, everybody wins. We made sure that our platform helps tax authorities, businesses, and customers alike. We realized that a perfect tax collecting system can only thrive if all sides benefit from it. At Data Tech International, we want to give everyone the power to properly connect, even in countries where this presents a challenge. We want every business to have a freedom of choice to choose the electronic fiscal device that suits their needs. But how do we achieve this? After years of thorough research, it became clear to us that to properly collect taxes, we must inspire tax-paying businesses first. The relationship between a business and a tax authority must be built on trust and full transparency. TaxCore guarantees a secure, fast, and simple 21st century platform, maximizing transparency in a fair business environment, minimizing bureaucracy and cost. The TaxCore platform is a fully digital, secure, and adaptable system. It can be installed in environments with full internet capacity or in environments where the internet connection is weak or scarce. Each business taxpayer is registered in the system and issued a personalized secure element, which they use to log in. This secure element is provided by the tax authority for free or for a low price. Security is completely in the hands of the tax authority. No third party has any influence. TaxCore provides the taxpayer with absolute freedom at the point of sale, depending on the needs of their business. They can choose an electronic fiscal device tailored to their company's needs. A sale can be recorded in real time using any cash register. But with TaxCore, a small company can easily switch the cash register with a free special app on a smartphone. All data is retained on the tax authority's servers and is made available to auditors and business alike. If you don't have stable internet access, we made sure to develop a secure element that saves all the data until your internet connection reappears. Once it does, the secure element will forward all the information to the tax authority's server. Whatever the internet quality or kind of connection, there will always be a fiscal electronic invoice, and it will always be digitally signed in the same way. So, what about the receipt? Well, it can be printed or not. That can be up to the customer. It can also be displayed on a screen, and in any case, it shows a unique QR code that the customer can scan with his phone. Scan it, and he enters a fiscal lottery where he can win instant prizes. TaxCore already runs successfully in 3 countries. These countries offer instant verification of taxes paid. Just scan your receipt and see for yourself. Every consumer becomes a tax inspector. Everyone is motivated to fight the grey economy. We look forward to becoming your trusted partner in the fight against tax evasion and the grey economy. TaxCore, making life bitter for tax evaders since 2012.
Ladies and gentlemen, we trust that this video has provided a useful introduction of the fiscalization technology and essentially what we are looking to roll out with our e-invoicing system. We're now going to move on to our first presentation. Our next presenter is Mr. Sakamuzi Mtunzi, who's going to provide an overview of the fiscalization ecosystem. He is our Director for Programs here at ERS, and he's going to unpack how the different participants, systems, and processes within the e-invoicing environment are expected to connect and work together. It will also help the businesses in the room to understand where they fit in the broader ecosystem and how transaction information will move through the system. I'd like to now hand over to Sakamuzi. Mtunzi, please take us through your presentation. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Ntobeko. Good morning, all. I'm just to talk to the ecosystem. From the previous engagement.
I'm in a meeting, so you've got to come closer and tell me quickly what you need.
All right. In the previous engagement, I did make this presentation, but I made an analogy of a mobile company, how you get to use a cell phone. But today, I'm bringing the example closer to home. So I will start the journey at the ERS, where as ERS will be issuing out technical guidelines of how a POS should be connected to us so that it can transmit data. So what will happen is, as a taxpayer, you'll probably be having a contributor and a supplier of your POS, depending on the setup, but I will talk about it in the next slide. So what will happen is that the distributor will go into our sandbox at the ERS with the POS and accredit that POS. By accrediting that POS, they will be developing some code that will be actually running in the POS. So the distributor will then talk to the manufacturer so that all the devices that come into the country are having that code so that those POS are compliant with the fiscal requirements. Then what will happen is that the distributor will say if they want to expand the footprint in the country, they can use any supplier to spread out the POS in the country, so that it can be accessed by the taxpayers, and then the taxpayers enroll with us using those devices, and then the data is transferred to us. So let me start with because there are three kinds of POSs. There is a private POS. There will be one that is public, and the last one is the free POS. So I'll try to make some examples so that this setup is clear to almost every one of us. So let's talk to the private POS. So you'll find that there is a manufacturer in China, which is maybe Posiflex, that develops or that manufactures POSs. So the POSs, let me define the word POS in this context, is any software or gadget that can produce a fiscal invoice or a fiscal receipt. So it can be your speed point, your normal POS that you find in a shop. It can be a website. It can be an app. It can be your parking self-service ticketing gadget. It can be your self-service gadget that you normally find now in KFCs. So any gadget or software that can produce the fiscal invoice is a POS in this context. So you'll be having a manufacturer of those POS maybe in China, and depending on the setup, because we'll say you find that they are having chain stores. So for them, they always lean towards a soft POS. So what will happen? Let me make an example with Pick and Pay. If they decide to be a distributor, so their responsibility is to ensure that the software that is running on the POS is compliant with ERS. So they'll have their own developers. If they are private, they will have their own developers who will develop the code, and then they will give Posiflex so that they put the software inside. When Posiflex distribute those POS, they are compliant to our fiscal system. Then it is then moved to the different locations by their suppliers, so that each Pick and Pay can then get that POS that is compliant. Sometimes you'll find that those chain stores don't have an IT department internally. They are contracting some other companies like Cubed, PostQuip. So PostQuip and Cubed will be responsible to ensure that the POS is compliant with the requirements that are coming from ERS, and then they will be also responsible, if they can, to supply those POSs to their customers, or else they can get a local shop, a tech shop, which they can distribute those POSs so that any customer can come and buy that POS. So For mostly the chain stores, they go for the private. POSs because it is more tailored for their environment. So in this particular case, you may find that we are already using a certain POS. So what needs to change there is to have that code that has been accredited by ERS to be installed on the POS, and you are good to go. The next POS. Oh. The next POS is the public one. It's similar to the private, but this time around, we are saying anyone can buy that POS. So I would be maybe an entrepreneur. I've realized that ERS is going this route. I get a company in China to supply me with the different POSs. I make the code, accredit it with ERS, then open a shop where any business that is coming into the game, they can go and buy and get a secure element from ERS. Then they are fiscalized. So this one is actually more open. That is where you will find the different type of POSs in shops that are accredited by ERS. You will be able to see which ones have been accredited, because once we accredit a POS, we'll publish that information in our website so that you ensure that whatever we are getting from the suppliers has actually passed the test with ERS. The last one is the free POS, where ERS, in collaboration with DTI, they've made 2 free POSs that usually small businesses, consultants, and vendors can actually use. These free POSs, one is web-based. You can run it on your web browser. The other one is a mobile app. So in this particular case, we are a manufacturer of the POS, DTI, and ERS. We are also a distributor of the same. But the supplier, there are 3. You'll get it through ERS or DTI, or you'll get it through Google Play Store and Apple App Store if you are looking for the app. Once you download it, we connect it using the information that you get from the secure element. Then we are good to go. When you are transacting, the information is then sent to the ERS. So this is the ecosystem with the different types of POSs that we can use as taxpayers. The advantages of fiscalization, we've said it before, is going to level the ground. It will reduce the grey economy, and also the level of fraud will be reduced. The cost of compliance will also be reduced because you no longer need more hands in reconciling your books, because we'll be having the data, and phase 2 of the project will be then to use that information to populate your your returns. Also, even audits won't be that hectic because that information will be readily available. So we're looking at a brighter future with this technology that we are introducing. As the ERS will also be benefiting from this. You know, we're all about revenue. So we are expecting to see higher revenues that will be coming in. There'll be that visibility and control because all the transaction will be in our eyes. Also, because we are going electronic, slowly but surely we are reducing the cost of the cost of administration by removing papers and all the likes, and also our audits will be much more accurate because now the information will forever be there. You won't find any missing invoices because the invoices will be stored in the system. Otherwise, I think that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sakamuzi, for that comprehensive overview. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move on to a very short Q&A session. We'd like to get your feedback and comments on the presentation Sakamuzi has delivered. I will start off by just trying to see, I am seeing some questions, Mtunzi, in the chat. Maybe let me start there before I then take one or two questions from anyone. Lynette is asking if this is for retail and the wholesale industry and if it's going to roll out to all industries eventually. I see Pearl, you had already responded there, saying we are starting with the wholesale and retail industry. And then Peter is asking, what if it is not? We use a 30-year-old Linux system with a central server, but independent, no POS network uploads. Now will we have to completely change our software and providers? And then CDS also has the same question. I'm not too sure, Mtunzi, if you'd like to take this one before I proceed to the next.
All right. Thank you, Tobego. Yes, there will be that problem if it's an old system, because we can't connect the POS at a central level, at a server level. It should be at the point of sale. It should be at the point of sale. But I think we do have some incentives. I think we'll talk about it in the next presentation on how taxpayers will be assisted on that regard.
Thanks, Mtunzi. We also have a question about timelines from Vashana. Vashana, we do have a presentation that's going to speak to our proposed rollout plan and timelines as well as next steps. Christopher's asking for the video. We will drop the link in the chat for the video. Eli Kem is asking, so should this eliminate the need to manually populate the VAT return? I think I've seen another question around that as well. Mtunzi, can we speak to the VAT return?
Yes, the VAT return, we will eventually have it populated by us. But for us to reach that point, everyone who does sales in the country should be fiscalized. So we'll be moving gradually from just receiving and waiting you to do the declaration to say the next step maybe we'll expose what we have and not expecting something below that. until we have rolled it out to the entire country. That is when we'll just use the information that comes with the POS for declarations.
Thanks, Mthunzi. I'll take two more to our audience. We will be responding to the questions in the chat. I do also want to open just for one or two questions if there's anyone who'd like to raise their hands. I am seeing a question about accreditation. We will speak to that in the next presentation. Sab Investments is asking, if I have 4 shops in different parts of the country, what does that mean? Will I have to install the software in all of my branches? And then Sandra is asking, what provision is being made for offline capability? For example, when there's a power outage. Maybe Mthunzi, if we can take those two. And then I'll ask that the project team, can we be responding to the questions as well so that we don't delay? I don't want to keep everyone here for too long. Maybe 2 more questions, and then we can move on to our next presenter.
All right. Thank you, Ndobego. For chain stores, I would recommend that they use the private POSs because it will be cheaper for them. Because you do one software, you install it into your devices, then you roll it out to all the tills that you are having. So it becomes cheaper that way. Offline capability, yes, it does provide if you are offline. So we recommend that you use the solution that comes with the secure element, which brings the capability of storing data even if we are offline. Then immediately when you get a connection, it will then sync with our server site.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Project team, please can you respond? We are getting more questions in the chat. Can I take any questions, any live questions, 1 or 2, before we then move on to the next presentation? You can simply just raise your hand. I'm trying to see if I'm getting any hands raised. If not, project team and Mthunzi, can we just go through the questions and respond on the chat so everyone else can also see our responses there? Okay, I've got one question. Moshnish Ratnani. Please unmute your mic and go ahead, Moshnish.
Hi, thank you for taking this question. So my question is that, let's say I have more than 10 shops around the country, all right? So will there be a need to put a hardware device all across those places, or a single hardware device at a centralized location would work?
As a chain store.
You will need if you are having a chain store, we are having a lot of point of sales. What I recommend you to do is to go for a private POS. By private POS, let's say your chain stores are using POS that are supplied by POSIFLEX. So what you need to do is to get the developers to do the code that will run on the POSIFLEX point of sale, accredit that software with us so that POSIFLEX can install it in your point of sale devices. And then we are good to go because it's one code. You just install it on all the POSIFLEX POXs that you are having. And in that way, we are fiscalized because we are going to give you a soft, secure element for each till, so that every time you make a sale, you produce a fiscal invoice or a receipt, which that information will then be sent to us.
So like there won't be any separate hardware device. It will just run inside the POS system that I have.
Yes, as long as that POSIFLEX POS does have that capability to accept that code, because some of the POSs, you find that they are too old. It can't accept the code. So that way, then it would be a capital investment.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Monish. Thank you, Mtunzi, for that. Like I've asked project team, the questions are coming in quite fast. Let's make sure we're responding to them so we can move along with our audience nicely. Moving on to the next presentation, we have 2 more presentations to go. And after each presentation, we will ensure that we have our Q&A. Our next presentation will be delivered by our legal manager, Lindiwe Njali, who's going to take us through the legal framework that we are using in rolling out our e-invoicing system. She's going to unpack the legal notice that will be published. I think by Monday, you will be seeing that on all of our platforms. And this presentation, like I've said, is going to unpack the legal framework supporting the e-invoicing system, and it's going to help us all understand the scope of the notice, the obligations that may apply to the affected businesses, as well as the compliance requirements that is going to guide the implementation. So please do pay close attention to this section and submit any questions that you may have. We will have a Q&A session after this. Over to the legal team. Thank you, Lindiwe.
Thank you, Program Director. My name is Lindiwe Njali from the Legal Compliance Unit. I am here to present about the third schedule, the amendment to the third schedule of our VAT Act, which introduces the legal framework for fiscalization and electronic invoicing in our country. This reform forms part of the ERS broader efforts to modernize tax administration, improve compliance, enhance transparency, and create a more efficient tax environment for both our taxpayers and the ERS. I will just talk about what does the amendment seek to introduce in our VAT legal framework. As I have already stated that I am talking about the notice. The legal notice basically introduces a fiscalization in our legislation. It provides a legal recognition for electronic fiscal documents and fiscal data requirements. It also modernizes VAT administration and it's in strengthening compliance in the process. It also enables electronic generation, transmission, storage, and verification of VAT data. Also, it facilitates transition from paper-based to digitally verified VAT administration. And maybe we'll now look at what are the key legal changes in the amendments. The amendment formally recognizes the following documents in electronic form: the tax invoices, credit notes, debit notes, and fiscal receipts, provided they are issued through an electronic fiscal device or another electronic system authorized by the Commissioner General. The significance of this, and maybe one can say that before the amendment, the VAT Act mainly recognized paper VAT documents. The VAT now gives electronic documents the same legal recognition. Also on the key legal changes, fiscal receipts are now recognized as supporting documents. The amendment provides that an electronic fiscal receipt constitutes a return supporting record for VAT purposes, which means in practical terms, the fiscal receipts and other authorized electronic fiscal documents may be used as part of records supporting VAT declarations and compliance reviews. So the implication of this is that taxpayers may now rely on electronic fiscal receipts when maintaining VAT records, substantiating VAT and demonstrating compliance during audits and investigations. The amendment also gives the Commissioner General he has a role to play. It grants the Commissioner General and it grants the CG authority to prescribe additional content requirements like identifiers, security features, digital signatures, verification codes, fiscal data, and other prescribed information to be included in the electronic fiscal document. The significance of that is that it allows the ERS to establish safeguards against invoice fraud, document alteration, duplication of invoices, and fictitious transactions. The notice, the CG will issue a notice which operationalizes the fiscalization framework. It will basically be having the technical guidelines. So it will operationalize the fiscalization framework introduced through the amendment. Basically, its purpose is to prescribe the electronic manner, form, procedures, and technical requirements for the submission of fiscal data and return supporting records for VAT administration. Maybe one can, as I am closing, I can state that since we all know that the fiscal device by its nature, it is capital in nature, but to support a fiscalization compliance, taxpayers will be allowed to deduct the cost of acquiring or installing the electronic fiscal devices for income tax purposes, which means under income tax will be allowed to claim it as an allowable, to claim the cost incurred when procuring the device. You will claim it as an allowable deduction. It is basically an incentive for our taxpayers to comply with this new reform. That's the end of my presentation, Program Director. I thank you.
Thank you, Lindiwe, for your presentation and just taking us through the notice to our attendees on the call. We will be publishing the notice on Monday, but as Pearl has already highlighted, it is live. We will also drop it here on the chat. Let me try and see if I have any legal questions that are relevant to Lindiwe's presentation. As I've highlighted, colleagues, we are looking to respond to your questions as we go through. I do have a question here. When does the ERS expect to release the API documentation, technical specifications, and sandbox environment to software vendors so that we can begin development and testing? I know that this is now going back to e-presentation. Yeah, Mthunzi. Maybe Mthunzi, you can come in with that one. I'm also trying to see, yeah, a lot of the questions are going back to Mthunzi's presentation. I'm not seeing any towards the legal notice besides just wanting to know when everyone will have access to it. So maybe Mthunzi, you can take those two. Thank you. And then we can move on to our next presentation.
All right, thank you. I assume the first one is the one that talks to Sage or QuickBooks accounting system. Like I said, when I introduced the topic, A POS is any system that can produce a fiscal invoice or a receipt. It can either be a software or a gadget. So Pestel and QuickBooks, yes, there are softwares, they can produce these kind of invoices. The only thing that needs to be done with them is to develop that code that meets the requirements of the fiscalization system, and then do an update on the package so that when you roll it out to your customers, they can use the information that comes with the secure element to link with ERS, so that every time they do the sales, the information is moved to the ERS. The second one, do we need to amend our data protection policies and mapping to include ERS within the mapping? What is the documentation we need to sign with ERS for including ERS within our data mapping? As now our data is no longer kept safe in our server. There's an external third party with, yeah, colleagues, the data that we will be transmitting is the sales data, is the data that goes into your receipt. So there's no personal data there. The Data Protection Act is protecting personal data. This is business data that we are talking about, and products. So there's no need to do mapping because there's no personal data that will be transmitting on this regard.
Thank you, Mthunzi. Is there any other question you're looking to respond to before we move on? Or you'll just respond in the chat?
Okay, yeah, the last, they want the list of data fields. It will be published with the technical requirements. The list of data fields that are required for the electronic invoice. So it will be the list of data and technical specs. It should be published once we are done with the technical requirements that then you use to do the code for your POS so that it becomes compliant with our fiscal system.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mthunzi. We're now going to move from the legal framework and move into the practical processes that businesses will need to follow. Our next presenter is Eswatini Revenue, who is program partner, and she's going to provide an overview of the accreditation, enrollment, and support processes. I did see quite a few questions come to speak to that area. So this presentation will just unpack how our businesses, affected participants and solution providers will enter the environment. I saw a question there about Sandbox, the steps involved for accreditation and enrollment, as well as the support arrangements that we have put in place during this implementation. So I'll hand over to Eswatini, who's going to just give us a bit more understanding as to what businesses need to be able to prepare, and also how to engage with the ARS throughout this implementation. Eswatini, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Program Director, and good morning to our valued clients and colleagues. I will be taking you through the accreditation process. So the accreditation process is a foundational component of the fiscalization ecosystem, as it ensures that only compliant, secure, and technically capable fiscal device vendors or distributors are allowed to participate in the ecosystem. So the process will begin with the publication of the technical guidelines, which will answer the questions that were raised earlier about what the vendors or distributors need to know in terms of preparing for accreditation. So the guidelines will be published on our website, and we'll also ensure that the link to those guidelines is also available on our other social media platforms. I will go into the next slide, which will provide a bit more detail on the steps that are required for the accreditation. So in this slide, I would like us to focus on the boxes that are labeled as step numbers. So those are the main steps. And then the boxes on the right just provide detailed information per step. So once we publish the technical guidelines, we will also share a link to our sandbox environment with those guidelines. So suppliers or distributors who are keen to be onboarded or accredited will use that link to then register their intention for accreditation. They will do so by providing information that is related to their business, so the name of the company that is applying for access to our sandbox and the contact person. Once we receive that application, we will review it and ensure that all the information that is required is available and approve that application if it meets the requirements. So those that would have been successfully approved for sandbox access will receive a developer certificate. The developer certificate then allows you to go into the sandbox environment and do the coding that is required, the requirements that we would have specified. Once the distributor or supplier is confident that they have built a solution or that is aligned with the requirements of the ERS, they will then apply for a technical review. So the technical review is going to be done in two parts. The first part will be purely technical, where our technical experts will be looking at that code that has been developed and ensuring that it does meet the requirements. Once that stage is completed and if the vendor or the supplier is successful, they will move on to the next accreditation step. But in instances where maybe there's an issue with the solution that has been presented for technical review, our technical team will provide details of what is not aligning with the requirements so that the supplier is able to go back to the drawing board and revise the code and reapply for technical review. So for those that will have succeeded in the technical review, they will then move into an administrative review. So this is a second layer, which then also just checks that on top of the technical capability of whatever has been produced, does it still align with the administrative components of the review? I need to emphasize again that the suppliers or distributors will know exactly what is required for technical and what is required for administrative beforehand so that they are not surprised. And I think I have touched on number 7 and 8. The second to last step is that the technical review team and the administrative review team will then prepare a report that will be then forwarded to our final approver. And the final approver in this case will be Commissioner General, who will then grant the accreditation to the supplier or distributor who has met the guidelines or the requirements of the technical guidelines. At the end of this process, we will then publish all the accredited distributors or suppliers on our website, and we will specify the specific devices that have been accredited for, because we should know that just because we are accrediting Apple, for example, there's different models within that ecosystem. So the accreditation will be for a specific model. So we will publish the supplier name and the products that they've been accredited for. So that will be the accreditation process that we will follow. We will communicate with our clients when we are ready to open this process, but I will highlight at this stage that if on the call or outside of the call there are clients who are interested in becoming accredited suppliers or distributors, they can reach out to us. Our program director will advise on the channel to send that information so that we keep you on our priority list when we open the accreditation process. I will then move on to the enrollment process. So this process touches on the taxpayers now. So these are businesses that will engage with the accredited suppliers and distributors for the fiscal devices. So to kick off the enrollment process, our system will send an invitation to the taxpayer via email. This invitation will be sent to the taxpayer's authorized person or public officer. The invitation will contain a link to a taxpayer administration portal. So I do need to highlight here that as we kick off this initiative, we will have a special portal for clients for the e-invoicing system. So that's where they will then log in and create a profile. In future, we are looking at having a single sign-on type of solution where our clients will have one set of credentials that they can use on our systems, but in a controlled and secure manner. So in this instance, once the client has logged in and created their profile, they will then specify their business locations and specify the number of secure elements that they require for those locations. The secure elements come in two forms. We will have the physical secure elements, which will be in the form of a smart card. And then we will also have a secure element that is in the form of a digital file. So the client will then specify if they need the digital file or the smart card option. Our back office will then review that request from the client on the back end of the system. And if everything is in order, we will then personalize the smart cards and the digital files to match the client's information. So the name of the business, the location, and all other important information. The digital files will then be sent to the client via email upon the approval, but the physical cards will be dispatched by the ERS to the taxpayer. And we are looking at doing this within 2 business days of having received the application from the client. here I will highlight that our secure elements or cards will have an expiry date. For now, on the slide, we had put 3 years, but we are still looking to adjust that depending on our further assessments as we get the system live. So the secure elements will have an expiry date, but the client will always be reminded from 90 days, from 60 days up to 7 days on the expiry of the card. And then to initiate renewal of that card, the client will simply select an option that will be available on the e-invoicing portal, and then the card will be automatically renewed. The next item that I will speak on is a case of a revocation of a smart card. So this will apply if for some reason the secure element or the smart card is lost, stolen, or compromised. So the client will advise the ERS that they have this challenge, and then we will ensure that we send a locking command to that secure element so that the data that is in that card is not further compromised. Then the final slide on the enrollment process is speaking to deregistration and secure element return. So here we are looking at an instance where a taxpayer is deregistered on the tax system for some reason or so. In those cases, when the deregistration happens on our tax systems, it will trigger a case to be created, which will be assigned to one of the ERS officers for investigation to make sure that that deregistration is valid. And then if that is confirmed, the e-invoicing system will then trigger a revocation of all secure elements that are tied to that business. And then we will request that the taxpayer returns those smart cards that were in their business location. And to ensure that data that is on those cards is not compromised, we will perform a final secure element audit on those cards, and then we will lock the returned secure elements and store it in accordance with the guidelines that are provided for data storage and archiving. The next process that I will touch on is the support process. So effective support is critical for the successful adoption and sustainability of the fiscalization initiative. The support model that we have designed is designed to leverage existing support channels while strengthening capacity through a dedicated fiscalization focus. Our clients will continue to access support through the current channels. So this means clients will be able to walk into our service centers and speak to one of our team members. They can also call our contact center or send an email inquiry, or they can also send a message on WhatsApp. And then our contact center team will receive those queries. So in the initial stages of the e-invoicing system, we will ensure that we have a dedicated support team that will focus on the client questions that are relating to fiscalization. If for one reason or another, maybe we have a major incident that impacts our system, we do have the continued support of our implementation partner, DTI, so they will always be available to provide technical support in instances where it is major incidents that are too technical for us to resolve on our own. An additional mechanism that we've put in place to enhance the support process is we will be keeping an up-to-date and comprehensive frequently asked question guide on our website, on TechsEase, and links will be available on our social media platforms, where clients will be able to get answers to questions that they may have that have been asked before. And we will ensure that new queries that come through our contact centers are also logged on this frequently asked question guide and updated, so that we minimize the issues that clients have. We will also ensure that we develop and publish how-to guides that will support our suppliers and distributors in the accreditation process, our clients in the enrollment process, and the general public on what is fiscalization and what it is intended to do. At this point, I will then move on to my last slide, which speaks to the next steps. So this is just an overview of the project roadmap. We kicked off the project in May with an initiation and inception phase, and this phase has since been completed, and we are now in the initial capacity building phase. In this phase, activities that we are looking at is to conduct extensive key stakeholder engagements to ensure that everyone that has a role to play in this process is kept informed of what they need to do on time. We are also training, kicking off training of our internal teams that will be looking at the accreditation process, the enrollment process, and the support team. We are also in this phase looking to open the accreditation process, but we will advise our clients on the key dates of when that will be done, but it is going to happen in this period of July and September. Once the initial capacity building phase is completed, we will then move to the full operational capability phase. In this phase, we will be looking at activities that include setting up our production environment in readiness for the final acceptance phase, which we are looking to do in November and December. And in the final acceptance phase, we will be doing activities like confirming final system readiness and then going live with our first cohort of clients on the fiscalization ecosystem. With that, Program Director, may I hand over to you?
Thank you so much, Spesihle, for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm seeing quite a number of chats with your email addresses. We will be sharing the presentations that have been delivered today. We will email them. We'll also drop them here on the chat so you can download it easily on your side. We understand that we are sharing quite a bit of information, but as we have highlighted, we are committed to walking this journey with you, and we will continue to engage with you. This is not the last session or the engagement. So I think this is the last presentation that we had planned for today. What I am going to do is maybe allow for anyone who would like to ask a question regarding Specialist presentations. She spoke about accreditation, enrollment, support, and next steps. And then I will then take the time to go through the chat and try and identify if there are any questions that we have missed and have not responded to. But maybe let me start off with seeing if I have any hands for questions posed to Specialist presentation. Thank you, Mohammed. Please go ahead.
Hi. When is the expected go live date?
Sipe?
We will share the go live date. We are still doing background work, but ideally, after we have communicated, we should actually give you something like 6 months to prepare yourself before we start.
Thank you, Mtunzi. Thanks, Mohammed. Anyone else with a question they'd like to pose before we go into the chats? Pranesh, please go ahead.
Is there a technical specification out ready for us to review? Have a look at.
Thanks, Pranesh.
The technical guidelines are still being finalized, but we are looking at publishing them in the next few days, yes. But as soon as they are available, we will ensure that we notify our clients. We will either send an email notification as we have done for this session, but we will also communicate that on our website and our social media platforms.
It will be available to download from the website as well.
Yes, they should be able. You should be able to then download the technical guidelines.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Pranesh. Lynette, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Morning, everyone. Just to find out, is there a cost that will be carried by the companies, or is this ERS's cost in implementing all this into each company?
Thanks, Lynette. Project team.
Thank you, Lynette. This is a cost to be incurred by the business. But like I had said in my presentation, as an incentive, we will allow you to claim it as an allowable deduction under income tax.
Okay, thank you. And what is the cost? Is it a rough estimate? Is it the same for everyone, or is it different for each business?
It's different because each company will decide on the approach to this. For those that are having modern systems, it will only be the cost for development, hiring a developer. But for those who are having legacy systems, which will call for the revamp of the tills, it would be a bigger investment for them. So it will depend on your approach and the systems that we are running.
Thanks,
But we have to
Mtunzi.
put.
Veshana, I think your hand is up. Please go ahead, Veshana. We can't hear you on our side. I'm not sure if your mic is muted. If not, you can drop your question in the chat. I think maybe, ladies and gentlemen, let's go through the questions in the chat so we can make sure we use the session just to respond accordingly. So I'll start off with ones that we missed. We have a question from Sfiso at the top. So ERS is going to be the center of all trade transactions. Basically, we have businesses that are still using manual invoice books. Please clarify on that. What is going to happen to them? I've seen quite a few questions around that, Mtunzi, where people are outlining that they're still using manual books. So how will they be supported there? Maybe let me go 2 questions at a time. I think, Sandra, we've responded to your questions about the go live date. Then we also have another question from Winston. Has ERS considered e-invoice or smart invoicing instead of physical devices? We have moved away from physical devices in Malawi and Zambia with direct integration between POS and the revenue authority systems now. Lesotho is also implementing an e-invoicing or smart invoice solution. So maybe project team, if we can take those 2 questions before I see any other questions we may have missed. Mtunzi, Spesihle, if we can just respond to those 2 questions before I move on. I don't want to highlight too many at a go.
And okay, for those who are using manual systems, we do have free POSs that are electronic. What they need to do is just they should move to those ones so that they comply to the requirement. What is the next one?
The next one was asking if we've considered smart invoicing or e-invoicing instead of the physical devices. They highlighted that in other countries, they've moved away from the physical devices, and there's a direct integration between the POS systems and revenue administrations. I think this is more of a general question.
Yes, we are not providing only for the physical point of sales. I've said it before, a point of sale as a definition is any software or any gadget that can produce a fiscal invoice or a fiscal receipt. So this solution does apply for those who want to go soft, and also it does allow that those who want to go physical POSs.
Thanks, Mtunzi. Karen, I see you've raised your hand. Maybe let me take your question before I proceed.
Morning. Yes, I don't know if the question that was just answered now was understood clearly, because as indicated by the gentleman that raised the question, we've gone through a similar thing in other countries where they've actually implemented a solution where you electronically send data from your system to ours, from our system to yours, etc. So I think that was the question with regards to the current solution that's been implemented in Zambia, for example. So obviously we have an established point of sale system, but it's the transferring of the data in various formats as per the specification for e-invoicing.
Okay, to me it's one and the same thing, because be it your software or your physical POS, what will happen is that once you establish the relationship between ERS and a taxpayer through the use of a secure element, the data will then move by itself to ERS. So it is an integration in a way, but it's the technology that is being used, which could be different from Zambia's approach. Thank you.
Thanks, Mtunzi. I'm seeing quite a few questions around if e-invoicing will be able to integrate with accounting software such as Pastel Sage. I'm seeing quite a few there. Can we just re-emphasize and give guidance around that?
Yes, I did respond, but what we are saying, colleagues, for those packages, what you need to do is to have that code that will be accredited by ERS, then an update on the pastel or Sage accounting system should be done so that the package itself is compliant with our requirements. Whichever is using that package, they will find it compliant with our requirements. The only thing they need to do is to get the secure element so that you would know that who is actually sending the data to us.
Thank you so much for that clarity, Mthunzi. I have a question here where a retailer is asking for a retailer that uses both POS and hard cash, because most of our customers are buying using hard cash. What is to be done about the scenario?
Hard cash should be allowed, but the invoice should be fiscalized.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm still trying to scroll down to see questions that are new and haven't already been covered. Matthew Herbert, we run a private in-house developed POS system. I'm not clear if we require a fiscal device in each store or whether the solution will provide APKs that we can integrate centrally. Please, can you advise?
Yeah, we'll only connect where the sale is made, not centrally. So in every till, that's where the connection will be for this solution. We are not going for the servers.
Thank you, Mthunzi. We have a question about the smart cards. What happens if our cards are lost or stolen? Are we able to process sales?
You won't be able to process the sales when the cards are not there. So it remains your responsibility as a taxpayer to keep this information safe, because that's the very same information we'll use to audit your books. So we need to keep it safe, colleagues. So the only time you'll be able to transact is when there is no network, because the card themselves, they do allow space to store the data when you are transacting, but removing it, it is an offense, which is basically going to be published on the amendments that are being done from the VAT Act.
Thanks, Mthunzi. Just trying to scroll. I am seeing a comment more than a question here about the timelines. The timelines do not seem nearly enough for us to work with our providers. What about beta testing? That should be at least 1 year with a select group. More of a comment to the ERS here, and we are taking your feedback, your commentary, and we will be sharing feedback around that. Peter, again, it's fair to say many of us are not confident in any new technological platforms implemented by ERS. So this is then feedback around our systems and giving us feedback around how to manage this new rollout. Peter, we're taking that. Thank you so much. And Vashana, I think you had tried to raise your hand, but we couldn't hear you. We are a large retailer with an internally developed POS. I understand there will be developments required. What are the details of the development required? Vashana, we are going to be sharing guidelines very soon with all of you, which will give more details around the expectations. What about businesses that do not have a POS, for example, cash loans? How do we handle that? I think, Mthunzi, you've already spoken to that one there. And then once from Andreas, once this is implemented, will it integrate with imported costs Asikuda and costs from other local vendors? If so, what does that mean for VAT refunds? Maybe we can speak to this one, Mthunzi, about integrating with our own platforms like Asikuda.
Yes, because we are doing this in phases. The ideal setup which we are moving towards is that even the goods that will be sold will be able to know from importation that you have stocked 10 bottles of Aquil as Pick and Pay. Then when you are selling, we know that we are selling the 10. So the integration will be there, but we are moving in phases. Like we've mentioned before, that there's a certain cohort that we are moving with for now. So if you are not part of the cohort, you will have enough time to prepare for this. The only people who might be having a lesser time would be the ones in the cohort. So yes, we'll be integrating with the other systems so that at the end of the day, the return is wholly populated with information that is going through this system without your intervention. Your role will be just to accept at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mthunzi. One more question from the chat from Matthew. Has the solution been developed or based on a similar solution elsewhere? Could you share what that is for further research, or has this been architected or designed by the ERS? Maybe Mthunzi, you can just highlight that again. I know it was spoken about in the DTI video at the beginning of the session, but maybe just for Matthew's comfort and anyone else who may have missed it.
All right, thank you. It's an off-the-shelf system. It has been implemented in several countries. I know there we are saying 3, but it's we have more countries where the system has been installed and it's working. So it's not locally developed, but we'll be customizing it for our environment.
Thank you, Mthunzi. I think I'll pause there in terms of the questions in the chat. We will be responding to every single question that we may have missed. We also are developing, like the team had highlighted, a document with FAQs. We'll be dropping that document from our first engagement shortly on the chat, and we will be adding to that document as well based on the questions that have been asked today. I don't see any further hands. I don't want to keep you longer than we had planned to. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we will pause today's engagement here if I don't have any more raised hands. But we just would like to thank you so much for taking the time to participate in this engagement. This is our second one. We do plan to host more. And the feedback, the comments that we are getting from you is really assisting us and also just identifying maybe areas we need to look further into. So thank you for that. My colleagues had highlighted that we will be building a support team, but however, please do, if you do have any additional questions, you are welcome to use this chat. We will keep it alive, but you are able to reach out to us on our contact center numbers. We have a dedicated team that is going to be picking up any e-invoicing queries and channeling those back to the technical team, but you may contact us on 2406 4050. Our email address is info@ers.org.sz, and we are also available on WhatsApp on 7606 3735. Our WhatsApp number is 7606 3735, and our email address is info@ers.org.sz. Thank you to the presenters for today. as mentioned, we will be sharing the presentations. I'm seeing the emails coming through. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you to the technical team working on this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you most importantly for making the time to join us today, and we look forward to engaging with you further. Please do have a productive day ahead, and thank you once again for joining us. Please do enjoy your weekend. Thank you, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen.